Hey everybody, welcome back to Film Don't Lie University. I'm Chris Harris. He's Brett Kollmann. We would love to remind you here at the very beginning to subscribe to both of our channels. Brett's channel is The Film Room. My channel is Harris Football. We're both going to be giving you great content throughout the entire season, and we hope that you will come along on the 2018 ride with us. We are in the middle of teaching a person to fish, Film Don't Lie University, dedicated to the proposition that we can all become smarter watchers of football games. And hopefully this series is helping you understand what we're looking for when we're looking at players. And Brett, we're on the quarterback tip right now. And I honestly, I think that's the most valuable thing we can do is help you understand what's real in the NFL, what quarterback stats are maybe fake. We're going to start out with a Phillip Rivers play. And Brett, maybe you could tell us, Phillip Rivers is very, very good at this. So tell us what Phillip Rivers does right on this play.
Yeah, it's the qualities of a veteran quarterback, somebody who's seen a lot of football in his day. So on this snap here, this is week 1, second quarter, down in the red zone, and it's a pretty clear man defense here. He's got the corners on one side, the safeties on the other. So usually when you're putting receivers on one side and safeties on the other, it's to kind of make the defense declare what they're giving you. So because the corners are on one side and they're both with the receivers, it's pretty clear it's going to be man defense. The only thing he doesn't know is if this linebacker, this outside linebacker, is going to be peeling off to take Melvin Gordon in coverage, or if he's rushing off the edge. Because if he's rushing off the edge, then that means that one of these other inside linebackers have to cover him in man, and they're not sitting inside to help out in zone, or like kind of a little hole zone over the middle. And since Gordon is running an angle route, some call it a Texas route, if there's a hole defender over the middle, that's not going to work. So if that linebacker is rushing, that tells Rivers that that angle route is probably going to be open for a touchdown. So you can see, especially on the end zone angle, you can see after the ball is snapped, his eyes immediately go to 48 to see if he's rushing. Of course he is, which then tells him, okay, that means it's going to be man on Gordon with no help over the middle inside for when this linebacker baits or takes the bait on the angle route. So he knows all he has to do is just survive in the pocket till Gordon gets open, which he does. Makes a really nice kind of off-platform throw with the pocket collapsing around him. Hits Gordon in stride. Easy touchdown. So that's an example of a pre-snap read informing a post-snap read, and him able to read the defense post-snap to know what they're giving him, make sure they're not deceiving him, and then take advantage of it.
Yeah, so, if the lesson from this play, the thing that you might apply to, is Mitch Trubisky doing this well? Is Patrick Mahomes doing this well? That's a nice move by Melvin Gordon, don't get me wrong, but Rivers really sort of makes the play from the beginning. Would you say that's right? Like, if we're going to take away one lesson from this play, it's pay attention to the quarterback being able to understand that where the pressure comes from is where the ball should go?
Yeah, and it's not vacation, but the defense, if they're bringing in pressure, they have to vacate part of the field. So if you throw to the part of the field that's vacated, which you're going to read post-snap, you're going to get free completions. And that's exactly what Rivers does, and he's old enough to understand that.
He is definitely old enough. Cam Newton, getting older, not quite there yet, but let's talk about a pre-snap read that Cam Newton says and what it turns into. So I think pre-snap, we could probably agree that he sees two safeties high. However, if you watch the bottom side there, I guess that's the right side as Cam Newton's looking at it, that safety's sheeting back, and at the snap, he's going to see he goes back, and that other safety comes up, and that's him. He's playing the robber technique. So there's only one safety deep, and if Burson is smart enough to slow down his route after he gets past the linebacker before he gets to the safety, which he is, the quarterback and the receiver need to be on the same page. Awesome, easy money. And I think that is the post-snap adjustment, right? Cam Newton understood what Burson was supposed to do, what the route call was for, and based on what he saw as that route was developing, he knew that he was going to power down and throw an accurate ball. The fact that it gets intercepted, much more the receiver's fault than anything else. Cam Newton made the right read post-snap.
Yeah, that's an example of, if you look at the box score, you say, oh, Cam Newton threw deep to Burson, it was interception, he must have missed him. It's like, no, he didn't miss him. He made a great read, and Burson actually ran a good route. He would have run the route differently if it was too high. He probably wouldn't have shortened it up. He wouldn't have curled back. So they were on the same page with each other. They threw the right route. He didn't make the catch. So it's not really on Cam. I can't fault him for that. But moving on to another quarterback who we've talked about before on pre-snaps, but on post-snap reads, Carson Wentz is just as good. And the thing I want you to pay attention to, and this is the thing, when you're looking at this year's second-year quarterbacks, whether it's Mitch Trubisky, who's probably the biggest name of that group that people are looking at fantasy-wise, when you're looking at these quarterbacks and they're standing in the pocket, watch their eyes. Watch how fast they're moving from progressions. You can see Wentz as he's dropping here. He's looking to his left. He's looking front side. Nothing's there. Progressing in the middle. Nothing's there. Boom. Eyes move backside. He's starting to throw before his eyes even get there. Because he knows if he needs to pull it, he can pull it. But he wants to come up ready to throw on that backside. So it's extremely quick progressions. It's understanding. It's having the spatial awareness to know where the defense is and knowing that the backside's going to be open. And just having the overall package to progress through the play. He's not forcing anything. It's perfect execution. This is textbook quarterbacking. And if you're watching these young quarterbacks, if they look like this, then they're going to end up being just as productive as Wentz, because this is something that's very rare.
Let me ask you about that. Let me just ask you, I think you did a good job breaking down this play. How does the lay person know that what he or she is seeing when they're watching on Sunday? Like, what are, very quickly, just the signs that I can see during a game as it's happening, and during the replays, right? You get a replay of a good play or whatever, that let me know as a viewer, oh yeah, definitely, I'm seeing a guy whose eyes are really fast in the progressions and really comfortable.
Well, primarily, you're going to be looking just to see if he's in control. Most plays, they're going to progress in one direction, whether it's left to right, right to left, deep to short. So he's not going to be jumping all over the place with his eyes. And you can see that on TV. Everybody's got HD televisions these days. The cameras are high definition. You can see where his helmet's looking. So if you see him kind of darting from left, right, left, right, left, right, like he's just kind of scrambling, trying to find somewhere to throw, he's not in control. If you see his eyes kind of progressing incrementally from one direction to the other, he's in control. So on that Wentz play, he was progressing in control incrementally from left to right, and it paid off.
Love it. Love it. So I think some of this stuff is best illustrated when we get away from the good stuff and maybe show you some not so good stuff, and we'll do that right after we come back. Hey, quick break. We wanted to thank Lisa for sponsoring us today. If you've been thinking about getting a new mattress, we really recommend Lisa. I've been sleeping on the Lisa mattress for a couple of years. I have a Sapira mattress as well over in Los Angeles, and that's extremely comfortable as well. We can get you a great deal on either one. If you click on the link that's below me, it's lisa.com/FDLU for Film Don't Lie University. Get you $160 off the Lisa or $235 off the Sapira. I think you'll really like them. Now, me thinking that you really like them doesn't really matter. Lisa knows not every mattress is for every person. Just because I say it's comfortable doesn't mean you'll think it's comfortable, but they'll let you sleep on your new mattress for 100 nights. And if you don't love it, you can return it. No questions asked. They'll come pick it up. You get your money back. It's a really great deal, one you're not going to get from a traditional retail mattress store. So again, click that link, and thank you so much to Lisa for sponsoring. Let's get back and watch some more film. Okay, so let's get back into it as promised. Let's look at a few less good examples. Again, not for the purposes of bashing these particular players, but to give you a sense of what it looks like when they're not doing some of these tactics all that well. And I showed you the Cam Newton play earlier. This is kind of the polar opposite of that, adjustment-wise, after the snap. This is Brent Hundley, and I think I understand why Brent Hundley maybe isn't a future starting quarterback in the NFL based on a play like this. This is Randall Cobb being the target out of the right slot. The Saints defense playing pretty soft. It's that same single safety playing deep. And the Packers are not out of this game. This is 3rd and 6. I think they're trailing by 10. And the mindset here is, it should be, let's get a first down. And Cobb sees that deep safety and does the same thing we pretty much saw that Brenton Burson did. He powers it down onto the assumption that his quarterback has been taught, when I see this defense, I'm going to power it down. Let's take the safe throw. Let's move the chains. I think it's safe to say, Brett, that Brent Hundley he did not do that. He basically, I guess, expected Randall Cobb to keep going. I'm not sure that's a completion, even if Randall Cobb is running as fast as he can straight down the field, but clearly not on the same page. And I think you and I would agree, based on what the defense has done post-snap, Cobb was right, Hundley was wrong.
Yeah, it's the same result as the cam play, but it's nowhere near the same execution. It's the difference between a young quarterback who maybe doesn't have chemistry with his receivers and a veteran quarterback that does have chemistry with his receivers. And you can say, oh well, it's partly Cobb's fault because he didn't understand that that Hundley was going to be carrying that ball deeper, but it's also Hundley's fault because at the end of the day, he's the quarterback and he's the one who's responsible for that chemistry. So that's part of post-snap reads too, is being on the same page with your receivers and getting the whole offense on the same page post-snap, not just
Don't you think Cobb is right here though? I mean, based on what the safety's doing?
Oh, he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Cobb is doing the right thing because he's used to Rodgers understanding, that when the safety's deep, don't press that throw deep.
Yeah.
Just take the seam underneath.
Yeah.
Like he's used to a quarterback that understands that, and Hundley, at least at this point of his career, doesn't. So it's a comfort level thing. Similar thing here, another young quarterback who making a mistake. We kind of talked earlier about how it looks like when a quarterback is in control. This is what it looks like when a quarterback is not in control. And you can see his first read to Hopkins, he doesn't really. As soon as the pressure comes, he doesn't really have time for that to develop. So he's kind of panicking a little bit. His eyes are going left, they're going right. Should I throw here? Should I throw there? He doesn't even kind of stick around long enough to let Prosh turn and look for the ball in the flat, which would have been a completion. Mm-hmm. It's 3rd and 10 here, so he's just trying to make a play. But at this point, it's like, if it's not there, it's not there. Like, don't panic. Just either try to get some yards with your feet or check it down, get some yards. Maybe somebody can break a tackle. But this is what it looks like when a quarterback is not in control. And it's a good example of a young quarterback, a spectacularly productive quarterback who still has some room to grow. And you could say it's his first start, but he has room to grow because he's not entirely in control all the time.
You love the Texans. This must have crushed your heart to have to include this play, but you're right. You're so right. This is why Deshaun Watson isn't a finished product, 100%. You're not seeing post-snap that they rolled that Tampa 2 coverage, right? The linebackers drop out, and I guess he wants to go to DeAndre Hopkins there, I think, but he can't because there's a safety over the top. And I loved in your note about this play to me, can I quote you? I'm going to quote you. I had to watch this play a lot because I simply couldn't figure out what the hell he was doing. And after a while, it occurred to me that Watson didn't know either. And that is so right. That's exactly right. And I think it's we're not bashing Deshaun Watson here. We love Deshaun Watson. The larger point would be when you get that sense from watching the player run around or watch his eyes or whatever, you get that sense that the dude doesn't know what he's doing. He might not know what he's doing. It might be real. I'm with you right there.
But another key lesson to take away from that, before we move on, another key lesson to take away from that, we already know that Deshaun Watson's a good quarterback. We know he's wildly productive. So if he has room to grow, if he's still doing this and he's still being productive, that means he hasn't even gotten close to his ceiling yet. Just imagine how good he's going to be when he irons that stuff out. Just keep that in mind.
Right. Well, and I'll say the patron saint of not knowing what you're doing out there. Let's talk about Blake Bortles, trailing by 3 late in this game against the Chargers. They've got all their timeouts. They're sitting on the 47-yard line, and Bortles got a Bortles, I guess. I'm serious. We could probably fill out an entire Film Don't Lie University with Blake Bortles post-snap plays. I can't believe how many plays on film from just last year, in a year that he was supposedly okay, that would have been perfect for post-snap read problems. The Chargers rotate at the snap. They go from looking like they've got two safeties high, and one of those safeties comes down and takes away the middle of the field. Robert again. I would argue that Bortles has Marquise Lee just as he hits his back foot. Probably he could have led him, might have been a big hit, but I think probably should have been caught. And Marquise Lee maybe wasn't looking at Bortles as he comes out of his break, which probably look at your quarterback. That's not wonderful. But, I think Tom Brady throws it right to Marquise Lee out of the break because that's what's open. Bortles does not. Fine, you don't throw it. But, man, the whole defense has rotated. And as he staggers around back there, he just does not see anything. He just does not understand that Allen Hurns is not open. It's just a terrible read.
Again, the window is there, but it's very, very, very small, and it's definitely not what he anticipated. So I can forgive him for maybe being a little bit late on that throw. But if you are late on the throw and the robber DB picked up the crossing route, so the other guy kind of fell off and took his spot in a replacement coverage. So if you're late on that throw and you understand that the middle of the field is closed, you can't make that throw. It's done. You have no second chance to make it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can maybe hit it. It's like, no, Blake, you really can't. You really should not throw into triple coverage here. Just accept defeat, accept the play didn't work. scramble for a few yards. If you can get a first down out of it, great. But he was trying to do way too much. And he saw the rotation. That was what was frustrating to me. He saw the rotation and still tried to make the throw. That was what was very frustrating.
You know what the most galling thing about this was? Austin Eckler fumbled. They got the ball back. He did the exact same thing again. He threw another pick, exactly the same variety. And then the Chargers punted. Jaden Mickens returned a punt 50 yards, and they win in overtime. This is a despite Blake Bortles situation, but let's not bash him. We're not bashing any of these guys. Take me through our last play of this Film Don't Lie University episode. This is Deshaun Kaiser with a bad post-snap read that, again, I think, he was a very young quarterback, so we're not bashing him. We're just saying be on the lookout.
Yeah, people are piling on to Kaiser. I understand that, so I don't want to kill him too much for it. But it's just an example of a young quarterback maybe not fully understanding the route concepts and how it takes advantage of the coverage. So the Jags are in cover 4 here, and go routes are not really going to work against cover 4. Pretty much his only viable option to convert on 3rd and 17 here is this over route over the middle, which is going to cross underneath the safety's face, and it's not the biggest window in the world, but it is a window, and he kind of has to wait for it to develop a little bit. But because of the pressure, he kind of rushes himself, and he's not seeing the field downfield. He's not keeping his eyes downfield. He's not recognizing that he's got a guy open at the sticks to convert on 3rd and 17, and he just checks it down for a yard. So you can argue that, okay, yeah, it's bad pocket presence. You can argue it's a bad pre-snap read because he didn't already understand pre-snap that this was going to be open. You can understand it's a bad post-snap read. It's kind of a mix of everything. But it's a good example of a young quarterback just not seeing the field and not understanding the situation, not understanding the coverage, and not understanding that, yeah, this route concept should work, and he's not making it work. So it's frustrating, but it's something to keep an eye on when you're looking at this year's rookies to see if they're making the same mistake.
Yeah, it's so true, and we're not trying to turn this into a Deshaun Kaiser bash fest. It's more like, I think sometimes watching on Sunday, we have an angle that shows us when a wide receiver is wide open, and we're like, throw it to him. Now, sometimes that's maybe the receiver's fault or the quarterback's under pressure or whatever, but in this case, yeah, this was sort of, you got to look at the route, buddy. You got the right call. You just didn't adjust right. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Film Don't Lie University. If you've enjoyed it, please like and comment and subscribe to our respective channels. Go back and watch the other episodes we've already recorded. We've got some more quarterback analysis coming your way as well. This is really fun. Hopefully we are teaching a person to fish, that you start to recognize who's legit and who's not. For Brett, I'm Chris. Thanks for watching.